Music. Friends, as time changes, many things change and new solutions also emerge for the challenges that come before us. We should also understand those solutions in time. The biggest challenge of today is not being able to manage destruction time and not being able to be productive. And to solve this challenge, the new concept that we are going to discuss today. What we are going to discuss is mind of management. Today's book summary is Mind Management, Not Time Management, Productivity, One Creativity Matters, written by David Cudby. David Cudby is also a writer and a podcaster. He helps people to be productive in their creative work. His books are worth millions. David Ted's has sold more than 200. It has also appeared in the Post and Observer. So the thing is that many books and speakers tell us how to use our time effectively. They tell you to do this or that. But the truth is that getting things done has nothing to do with time management. It only depends on how you manage your mind. This is the summary of mind management, teaching some simple and powerful techniques. So let's start today. Without any delay, Management Productivity Fan Creativity Matters by David Cudby. Key book summary, Mind Management, Not Time. You see it all around you. Everyday people are busy and making money. That is why you should use every second at the right place to earn money. The calendar is so full of different activities. Give you time to rest. It does not happen. And not only this, nowadays people have also started multitasking. That is, many doing things together, like eating lunch together, is answering emails. The same hustle culture. That is, it is a culture of rush which has are you all proud to be a part of it? Always feeling tired, angry or upset. It has become common to feel. This summary is it will prove that time management is no longer a challenge. It is of no use, and you will get nothing from it. You will get to learn how to manage your mind, how to get success, and do any work can help you. You will also learn that to get something you have to do anything. There is no need to rush. Time mind management is not management. There is a better way to achieve our goals. So let's start with this first chapter of Mind Management at Time. Author David Cudby does not consider himself a writer. He believed that writing was special since childhood. David did not like it, but one day he was offered a book deal, which only a fool would refuse. So David planned his life in such a way that he had enough time to write a book. He wrote this book with his friends, planned so that he could write a book. First of all, he took care of this dinner, and other plans were canceled. But try to keep your writing sessions in place of these. It seems David even stopped going on dates. He even started getting his groceries and food delivered at home. He put all his heart and soul into writing his book. A writer has a treasure chest of words in his mind, and he plays with the words. But for David, it was not so natural or easy when he started writing. If I said I could not write even a single word, and I don't know how many hours passed just by sitting in front of the computer, then he started feeling pressure on himself. David had to finish 25% of the work of the book in the next few weeks and show it to the publisher. If he was not able to do so, the deal could be canceled. David did not want to disappoint his family and friends. In a hurry, he decided to join a retreat in Costa Rica. He thought about this, knew that even after going there he would not write anything. Will you be able to find out if this means that he regretted joining the retreat? Of course he did. But David thought that AI change of location might help him get over writer's block. David began to regret saying yes to the retreat and moved out of his house. He wanted to get rid of his frustration. Then he met Diego. He was on the other side. When he called David as if they were friends, Diego called David with a hand gesture and started talking to him in Spanish. David didn't want to look like a fool, so he replied to Diego. After talking to him, David found out that Diego wanted to talk to him in a similar way. I love walking on the beach, and the rainy season. Their conversation didn't last very. But David felt much better after this. It was happening again when David returned home, sat in front of the computer for the next hour. David managed to write the first chapter in, but this made David understand that this what happened that made him able to write. The reason for this was to take the time to write. Time management was not effective now. It is not working. You don't need time, rather be in the right mental state to write. This needs to happen. This is what David calls mind management. Mind management means giving priority to your creative energy, but it can also waste your time. Have you ever felt zero motivation after looking at your long to-do list? This happens to all of us. Still, with mind management, you can get out of this difficulty. Mind management means looking at a task or problem from a different perspective. In time management, you ask yourself, what can I do right now? Most of the time, because of this question, you start procrastinating. You know that you do not have the focus and motivation to do something. On the other hand, in mind management, you ask yourself, what work am I in the mood to do right now? But what should I do that can fit with my mood to complete my work? The best way to know your mental state and that work is to match both with each other. It requires resources like energy and time. It doesn't go to waste. It's the next chapter, creative sweet spot. Being creative, it's not something that comes easily to you. This is not a grocery store that you can buy. You can buy a story. The process of creativity takes time. Recite a song or write a painting. Your state of mind is right to create. David, creative mode is a must to enter the two types of thinking. Let's use divergent thinking and convergent thinking. Divergent thinking, it happens when your thoughts, your attention gets scattered, and these things happen when you think about these different thoughts, then we add it to our equation. Then it will be called convergent. When we call it thinking, then it is also about writing. Take an example. You want to say something, but you have many ways to say it. First, what do you want to say? Do you want to say it formally, or do you want to say it as if you were talking to a friend? Do you not want to give it any name, or do you want to tell everyone that you have written it? This is called divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is when you consider your options. Let's choose one of the values, such as suppose you want to write about your first love. You want to present the tone of your writing as a friend to your readers. You do not want to give it any name because you do not want to reveal your identity to everyone. That is why you should use good title. To create creative ideas, you need to both diversify and conversion thinking. Your final product is required. To make you brilliant, you need the best ideas are needed. But you can implement these ideas. How to find your creative spot by identifying it. Your creative spot tells you about that time and place in which you can do your best creative work. Creative work is not something that you can do with the help of a guidebook in which no logic or any mathematical formula works. Creative work is there is such a unique thought process that we often, according to neuroscientists, insight is a sudden feeling or change in perspective. Insight can also be considered as a movement of eureka, which occurs when you get something and tears of joy come to your eyes. Have you ever suddenly got a brilliant plan idea? That is called eureka, or I have found it moment. It happens when you suddenly find some missed words in the song, or you find the perfect plot for your story and now want to paint something again, but don't know what to paint. Then suddenly remembering to paint your favorite cartoon character would be a great moment for you to explore your creative spot during that special time. It may be easy to find. Remember that this time about mind management. It's not about managing your energy is not the same every day or throughout the day. Socializing or talking about your painting or Nobel, just like your job consumes a lot of your energy. Similarly, activities like working with your friends also take up a lot of your energy. That is why, find out the right time of the day when you have the most energy and you need to use it in your system. That means keeping pace with your sleep cycle as well. This system helps you to stay in place during the day. Think of it like a line going up. The more you stay awake, the more alert you will be. But staying awake and alert stops your sleep cycle. In other words, if you don't sleep well for one night, your sleep cycle increases. Think of your sleep cycle like a line going down because it drains your energy, reduces your system and sleep deadline. Both your body clock and sleep deadline meet at around 2:30 in the early afternoon. This is why you feel sluggish and tired at this time. Understanding your body clock helps you to focus on your work easily. Many people work very focused in the morning. Like the best violin players practice diligently for the first 2 to 4 hours of their day. Famous writer Virginia Woolf and psychologist BFB do the same. It is so because in the morning it's time when people are fully awake and you remain most alert to hit the creative spot. David has explained it another way. It is called the first wave rule, which does its work. They need to maintain discipline in completing it helps when you start your day. First thing, if you spend hours on your project, then it is called the first wave rule, and it is not something that there should not be such a project, but it is your most important project. By doing this, you will be able to complete that project quickly. Hearing this, you might be thinking that is this really possible? The answer is yes, it is absolutely possible. Start your day with your most important work? With such a work, so what you need to do is to. Because of you being lazy to complete, the chances are greatly reduced. By doing this prevents interruption in work. After taking this important learning, let's move on to the next chapter. The 4 stages of creativity is when you are actually writing, and even when you are not painting, you are still writing, and you can do painting to show your creativity. The process is just about writing and painting. I don't have it in social psychologist Graham 4 stages of bowler control or creativity. There are 4 stages of it. The first stage is preparation, means to prepare. This happens when you know everything about your project. Some think, which one is in your story? There will be characters. How long will your song be? What do you use to make a painting? We'll use this brainstorming. It is a stage where the brain works. You have so much information about your project that you become like a walking encyclopedia. David also started working on his book in the same way. There was a time when he used to sit in his living room and open such sources of information. Books, newspapers, and journals were scattered around David. He also had a whiteboard, that thing on possible topics and chapters. David wrote that the research he did was not a waste of time. It was helping him reach the next stage of creativity. The second stage is incubation. This is the time when you are not actively working on your project. You are probably working on something else or spending time with your friends and family. We need to take breaks in between to do this work. Forcing yourself to finish right away, it does not always work. Doing this will make you frustrated and angry. This will make it difficult for you to find your creative spot and move on to the third stage. The third stage is elimination. This is the eureka or aha movement. The third stage is not fully explained. This may be because it happens suddenly, is unpredictable, and unpredictable as. It is said that if you do not make the necessary preparations, you cannot reach this stage. You will have to spend a lot of time in the first stage. Let us know how the first stage helps you reach the third stage. For this, we will take the example of Paul McCartney of the Beatles. Paul composed that memorable song named Yesterday in a very unique way. He heard the tune of this song in his dream. When he opened his eyes, he woke up in the storm and played on his piano. They started playing the tune, and thus one of the greatest songs in history was created. But it wasn't that easy. Paul had been writing and composing songs before he even wrote Yesterday. He had been creating music for years, and just because he was able to write a song like Yesterday, his work didn't stop there. No, Paul made sure that he completed the fourth stage as well, which is verification. The fourth stage is verification. This is when you think about the eureka movement that came in the elimination stage. In this, you make sure that the idea you had is foolproof and brilliant. You double-check that nothing is missing. Paul was not 100% sure that the song he made was original. He thought that maybe this was also a tune he had heard before. There was no such copy or software. At such a time, Paul used a test to determine if a melody was original or not. So Paul spent a year and a half trying to determine if the melody was his own. During this time, he also worked on changing the lyrics, tune, and arrangement of the song. If you look at every stage of creativity, you can see that Paul is at his best. A lot of work. If you don't invest your time, then you will never achieve anything. There was no such copy or software. At such a time, Paul used a test to determine if a melody was original or not. So Paul spent a year and a half trying to determine if the melody was his own. During this time, he also worked on changing the lyrics, tune, and arrangement of the song. If you look at every stage of creativity, you can see that Paul is at his best. A lot of work. If you don't invest your time, then you will never achieve anything. We cannot make you a masterpiece. You will not be able to do this. Whole must pass through each stage of the process, or the next chain after is the 7 mental states. David didn't have any strict rules of creative work, but he did have things to do and places to go that helped him get in the right mood to write. He would go to the John Haddock Center's 19th grade to scribble in his little notebook. These thoughts used to start with going to the 5th floor. These are scattered throughout the book, but after writing them down, David began to see other things that he thought should be included in his book. The John Haddock Center helped David organize his thoughts. There was a coffee place called Absinthe Coffee that David loved. The place was captivating. The beautiful view and the aroma of the coffee beans made it an ideal place for writing. Like debit, it makes you also your mental. You can do different types of work according to your state. Your mental state can be one of these 7 mental states. The first is the priority mental state. This is when you make a plan. You decide what you need to do and how you will achieve it. In this, you also decide what is important and what is not. Know this is in Debit John Haddock Center. The second is the explore mental state. It is not about research. It does not require giving specific answers to specific questions. In the explore mental state, it is said to leave your curiosity open and not feel guilty for it. For example, suppose you are thinking of painting something. You research what you want to paint, but in this process you end up painting. Is the general mental state. This is the state where you work in the actual state. You create something by combining the ideas you have gathered in the previous mental states, such as writing your first draft. The fifth mental state is the polishing mental state. This stage is for editing and refining the work you have created in the previous states, such as making sure your sentences make sense in a painting. You check if there is any such thing on the canvas. There should not be any place left where you have not painted, or is there any color that needs to be made darker or lighter? Sixth is the administrative mental state. You cannot always focus on your creative work. You also have some responsibilities that you have to fulfill, like paying your bills and spending time with your family. This mental state is important because you also need to focus on other areas of your life. Attention must be paid to recharge mental. In the end, there is a state in which you can relax yourself. David needs to relax and refresh himself. Take a day off or go on a vacation. When David gets stressed about his book, he goes for a massage. Sometimes watching funny videos or movies also helps in this. To calm yourself and clear your mind, find creative ways to relax. David Sayles had a very strange routine at night on Monday from 12 noon to 4 a.m. He used to focus only on his book. At 4 a.m., he would switch off the lights, shut down his computer, and sleep till noon. The next day, in the afternoon, the debit would be ready and he would go to the coffee shop. He would work in the cafe until it was time to close. This is called the debit card. Create Cycle says this is a repeat. There is going to be a cycle in which you can do your work. You get time to rest as you move forward. The creative cycle consists of 4 stages of creativity in which you prepare, invent, bet, eliminate, honor, verify. The creative cycle does not need to be time-based. It can be based on weeks, and even based on different seasons. Maybe let's take a look at the creative cycle. Let's see an example of bat creativity doing the first stage preparation at night. She likes the silence of the night as it helps her focus, so she gets a lot of information for her songs and goes into the next stage of creativity, which is incubation. Takes care of the bet. While she sleeps, I am not able to focus on my creative work because feels inspired and reaches the third stage of creativity, which is when the Illuminati eats it. They get an aha moment. They find the correct words for their song, and they immediately write them down on a tissue paper that they keep with them. They spend the whole afternoon improving their song. They try to improve some of the words. She changes that tune with words. Feels inspired and reaches the third stage of creativity, which is when the Illuminati eats it. They get an aha moment. They find the correct words for their song, and they immediately write them down on a tissue paper that they keep with them. They spend the whole afternoon improving their song. They try to improve some of the words. She changes that tune with words and chooses the best instruments to play. There are so many options for managing your mind. You just need to find the one that suits you the most. Next chain is after creative systems. Once David was in big trouble, he had to interview Dr. Rock for his podcast. Dr. Rock was an inspiration to David. He wrote a book called Your Brain at Work. David considered Dr. Rock as his ideal, with the help of which David was able to understand how mind works in creative work. But on the day when David had to talk to Dr. Rock, he had to face many difficulties. Firstly, construction work was going on in the apartment which he had rented. and there was noise there all day long. There couldn't have been a worse condition than this for recording a podcast. Secondly, David had recently moved to Panama City to write his book, but he did not know his new neighborhood very well, so he had no idea where he could find a good place to do the interview. Third, David knew that it would be impossible to reschedule the interview because celebrities like Dr. Rock are always busy. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As it was, it seemed like it was obvious what was going to happen. David would have to cancel the podcast. Nothing was going right that day, but Bit's creative system kicked in, and he wrote an email to Dr. Rock. Suddenly, he was no longer feeling hopeless. He had found a solution to every problem he was facing. Finally, David agreed to record with Dr. Rock. Was successful? The creative system is a repeating process that helps you get your creative work done. It helps you know what steps to take to keep your mental energy in check. Think of the creative system as a chest that covers your creative cycle and the stages of your creativity. It basically oversees the whole creative process. The creative system can be run at a minimum creative dose is required. This is the smallest thing you can do to take your creative work forward. Suppose you are a writer. Your minimum creative dose is to write a paragraph of your book. Minimum creative dose is required to take your creative work forward. Helps you focus on other priorities. InShot has been saved to pictures/screenshot. It's a good thing. Let's understand this with an example. When you feed your cat, so you notice that his food is about to finish. You make a mental note to buy cat food from the supermarket. This is an open loop because buying cat food keeps going on in your mind even when you are doing some other task. The open loop keeps filling up space in your mind. This mental space can only be vacated when you complete that task. Buy cat food. It may seem like a negative thing, but open loops are beneficial for your creativity or help you move your project forward. Let's go back to the example where you were a writer and you were writing a paragraph for your book. This creates a coupon loop in your mind that you can refer back to the next day and the days to come. This way, even if you can't spend your whole day writing, you still have time to write. And not my momentum. The best part about the lost creative system is that you can have a lot of open loops. You won't feel guilty. As long as you are making progress, you will keep moving forward. One loop can be connected to the plot of your story, while the other can be connected to the back of the story's character. The creative system also prevents you from making excuses. You can't even say that you don't have time because the minimum time is 15 minutes. You only need a few minutes for a creative dose conclusion, and now that more, which we call, that is, we will repeat the learnings of all the chapters that we have read and listened to till now. Here, first of all, you learned what is mind management. It means creating the right mental state to do your work. It is to ask yourself, what work am I in the mood to do, but what can I do that fits in that mood? Secondly, you learn that you can achieve mind management by finding your creative sweet spot. You can do this by applying Devo-Gent honor conversion thinking. In both ways, you can create a eureka movement, which is like a sudden breakthrough in your creative work. To find your creative sweet spot, you have to identify your most productive. Most people prefer to work in the morning because during that time there are less distractions. Thirdly, learn about the 4 stages of your creativity. You have to go through all these stages to create something amazing. These stages are preparation, incubation, illuminati, and mental states along with work. These states help you to complete the 4 stages of creativity. These are the 7 mental states, primarily naughty. Explore, research, generate, polish, administer, and recharge. Fifth, you learn about the creative cycle for creative work and relaxation. There is a repeating cycle to find out the time. The creative cycle decides whatever time frame works for you, why only that week, month, or any season. No noise. Sixth, about his creative system. Explore, research, generate, polish, administer, and recharge. Fifth, you learn about the creative cycle for creative work and relaxation. There is a repeating cycle to find out the time. The creative cycle decides whatever time frame works for you, why only that week, month, or any season. No noise. Sixth, I will learn about the 4 stages of creativity and it takes care of the creative cycle. It is a repeating process that helps you find answers to questions like what steps should you take, or how should they be done. Today, the whole world has become a storm of fast-paced life in which everyone is busy doing as much work as possible as quickly as possible. But there is a different pleasure in doing things slowly, so enjoy that process. And don't be in a hurry. As the saying goes, big things come to those who five, and this is what we wait for. It is said in the Vedas that only in patience victory is that at the door of destruction. Your 4 focus yourself to increase creativity, 5 tools, and learning to keep it winning. What you got proved to be valuable to you. And you will see these in your life will also implement.